Celebrate Houston's Asian and Asian American communities at Asia Society Texas's free night market. Eat, shop, and explore at the festival's outdoor market of 70 plus local vendors and enjoy live music, a beer garden, carnival games, and dance performances for all ages. I can't wait for this one night only night market on Friday, November 1st at Asia Society Texas in the Museum District. Learn more at asiasociety.org/Texas. Today on CityCast Houston, as millions of people get ready to vote on Tuesday, we're reminded of why elections are so important. We'll get into the tragic consequences of the Texas heartbeat law with a young mom passing away, and how Houston City Council seemed to ignore voters this week. Plus, a reminder of why Houston is such a great city. Dynamic media personality Antre'chelle Nova and Pulitzer Prize finalist Evan Mintz join me to recap the week's news in H-Town. It's Friday, November 1st. I'm Raheel Ramzanali, and here's what Houston's talking about. Happy Friday. Good morning, Evan, Antre'chelle. What is happening?
Good morning. Happy Friday.
I hope nobody has a candy hangover.
I think I ate way too many Reese's Pieces last night, or as I like to call them, Reese's Pieces, because it just sounds better. Hey, we did put our November guide out this week, and it is November 1st. So, Evan, what is one thing you have to do in November in H-Town?
This isn't purely November, but Renaissance Festival. You've got to go if you've never been. It is a sight to see. It is amazing. Also, I highly recommend the documentary about the Renaissance Festival on HBO.
Yes, so much drama there, the takeover. It's almost like Succession with good characters role-playing as medieval gents.
Yeah, instead of being, multi-billionaires, they're a bunch of theater kids who just wanted to do that for their entire lives.
Yeah. How about you, Antre'chelle? What's something you like to do in November?
The number one thing that I'm looking forward to November 2024 is the premiere of Wicked. When I tell you, my mother and I will be having a Wicked weekend in the Woodlands on that opening weekend. I cannot wait. I have been in a Wicked tizzy. I cried myself to an oblivion watching all the behind the scenes yesterday. So get ready for that Wicked takeover, the movie.
All right, it's going to be a wicked November for you. And if you want to find other things to do in the month of November around the city of Houston, I've linked our guide in our show notes, and there is so many great things to do. So please take full advantage of it. All right, let's get to our biggest news of the week. It was a slammed week. Today is the last day of early voting. Election day is coming up on Tuesday, November 5th. Antre'chelle, why don't you kick things off?
You said it. Today is the last day to vote early in Houston, and we have to think about things on a very, very serious matter. A Texas woman died. The hospital said it would be a crime to intervene in her miscarriage. Now, 28-year-old Texas woman, Jocelyn Barnica, she had serious issues with Texas restrictive abortion laws. Now, everybody knows the overturn of Roe v. Wade, and these are the effects. Now, Barnica, she was 17 weeks pregnant, developed a life-threatening infection during a miscarriage in 2021 due to the stringent abortion restrictions. Medical staff delayed intervention for over 40 hours, guys. They were waiting until her fetus's heartbeat ceased before they could do anything. This delayed and ultimately led to Veronica's death, and she contracted sepsis, and she's gone. Not only did she die, her baby died as well, and she left her husband and her little girl alone. As we all know, Kamala Harris came to Houston with Beyonce and Kelly Rowland, but the number one message of this rally was reproduction freedom. And this is why. Now, the medical personnel reportedly refrained from immediately treating her due to her miscarriage due to Texas law prohibiting abortion until a fetal heartbeat is no longer detectable. What most people do not understand is the same procedure that they use, which is called a DNC, that they use to have an abortion. You have to do it with the miscarriage. The miscarriages fall in a gray area when it comes to women's rights. And that's one thing that most people do not understand. Or people are saying, what's the problem? She's had a miscarriage. It's not the same as an abortion. It's the same procedure. So even though there's nothing that they can do, the woman can do, this baby is dying, the pregnancy did not go well, the medical staff cannot treat you until they get approval or the fetus heart has to completely stop. This death has prompted calls for legislative clarity. You hear? Clarity and reform to prevent similar tragedies, because this is a lot.
It
It's too
is.
much. Advocates argue that clearer medical guidelines are essential to ensure patient safety without fear of legal repercussions for healthcare providers. The healthcare workers are nervous. They are scared to do anything because, again, miscarriages and this procedure falls in a gray area, guys.
I mean, I think it's clear that reproductive freedom is on the ballot, and this is about people's lives being in their own hands. Folks, largely Republicans, who have tried to ban abortion have said, oh, this will all turn out okay, that we will make sure that women are not hurt. And that is just not true. Women are getting hurt every day because of this.
Yeah.
This is a real serious issue that the nation has been fighting over for decades. And finally, we've seen Roe v. Wade fall, and we are seeing the consequences, and the consequences are written in blood. And it is very, very sad, and it is very, very scary.
So this happened at HCA Houston Healthcare Northwest, and in a statement, they said, our responsibility is to be in compliance with applicable state and federal laws and regulations. So when you think of that, the first thing, that's what they're saying. That's heartbreaking, right? Like, what about the patient, right? That just shows you how scared they are. The second thing that I really want to bring up in this story is that when Roe v. Wade fell, you had Senator Ted Cruz, Governor Greg Abbott, all making these bold statements. They were in front of the media. They were rallying around this. When they were asked to comment on this story by ProPublica, guess what happened? They didn't talk.
Everybody on mute.
Nothing happened. So when are you going to own up to your decisions that the things that you were championing are now causing people their lives and breaking families apart? When will you talk? Two more things I want to bring up. One is that the reason the doctors couldn't act is because Texas lawmakers passed a heartbeat bill restricting abortion if the fetus has any heartbeat a year before the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. Be a leader and hold that same energy. And this goes for both parties, by the way. When you make a move that has people criticizing that move, hey, own up to it. Talk about it. Tell us what you are thinking. Tell us why you made that move and talk about the impacts of those political decisions that you made.
Absolutely.
And, if they wanted to, they could go to Congress, they could go to the Texas legislature and write some laws to create the exemptions, create the safety protocols so that doctors feel like they have the ability to save women's lives when they need to. And that hasn't happened. Republican lawmakers have not stepped up to do that. And I think the sign is just they don't care about it. They really don't.
I feel like if we had a chorus of women saying, all I want is, they don't care about us. They don't care about us. They don't feel like we have the right to say something is wrong and I need help and I need you as a doctor to take care of me. And they're like, wait, we have to get approval first. Are you serious? This woman died over 40 hours. This is sad. How many more women have to die before they see that they didn't want this? And this is not a way for us to live our lives. And this is one of the reasons why I stay away from the political stuff, because it gets me it takes me out of my natural unicorn state, right? And it's like, damn, we really have to think about this. And this is serious.
Oh,
yeah. It's bad.
There's a saying, you may not care about politics, but politics cares about you.
Right.
This really just goes to show you that when politicians make decisions, it impacts people's lives. We knew that reproductive rights were going to be one of the biggest issues and one of the most important issues. And we will see next week just how important this is.
Yeah.
All right, Evan, let's get to your big story. What caught your eye?
The big story this week for me was that the Houston City Council voted to renew its membership in the Houston-Galveston Area Council. And that's the regional planning body that takes down federal dollars and then spends them on projects like regional infrastructure and workforce development. Now, normally this is a pretty regular thing that City Council does, but it was huge news this week because last election, voters overwhelmingly approved Prop B, which said that the HGAC needed to remake the way it allows voting, or Houston should withdraw. And HGAC has not remade anything. The problem is that Houston is overwhelmingly the biggest population center in the region, but does not have a majority vote at HGAC. It has a vast minority vote. And so we often do not get the federal dollars that we deserve. We don't get our fair share when it comes to flood infrastructure or when it comes to voting to approve certain road projects. Things that benefit downtown Houston get quashed. Things that benefit rural areas out in Liberty County get approved. And so voters said, if we're not going to get our fair share, you either fix it so we get a better say, or we step down. And neither one has happened. And Houston City Council just moved forward to approve it as if nothing had happened, nothing had changed. And it's frustrating to see our elected officials refuse to stand up for the will of the voters.
Wait, so why did they renew this when the voters have spoken? Like, what is happening? What? How?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, there are legal questions about how a referendum vote, how a charter change vote like this can actually be enacted and enforced. Do you drag the city to court to enforce it? We're not sure. Also, HGAC is a creation of the legislature. So there's a question of whether Houston can legally withdraw. Now, my interpretation of the statute is that HGAC needs to have Houston as part of it. So if we step down and don't join, then it no longer exists. From my view, we have total control here. But there are other people looking and say, no, Houston does not have the ability to step down. Now, John Whitmire, the mayor, has said that he's going to go to the legislature and work with them on redoing it. Also, as new counties grow and grow to a size where they can join HGAC, the structure is going to have to be remade anyway. So that might make an opportunity to open the door in the near future to give Houston a bigger vote. Also, City Council member Alcorn is the chair of HGAC right now. And while she has been very sympathetic to Prop B, she has also said it would not be appropriate for Houston to step down while a Houston City Council member is leading the board. But I will give thumbs up to council members Tarsha Jackson, Abby Kamen, Edward Pollard, Letitia Plummer to vote against renewing our membership. And also to our controller who stood up and said, what is the point of Prop B of voters turning out to express their will if we're not going to listen to them?
I was just thinking this. I was like, this is one of the reasons why people say my vote doesn't matter because of things like this. What are we doing, Texas?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
This is how people lose trust in the system, right? It is stuff like election fraud, right? People always hear about that and they go, I don't trust the system. But it's when you start looking at stories like this, and I'm in my major era where when you start looking into every story and you go, wait, I just voted for this, and yet this is not happening, right? You think about the Fort Bend ISD bond. You start thinking about vouchers in school with Governor Abbott. Like everyone's telling him, a majority of Texans are saying we don't want this, yet they're still going to try to move forward with this. We don't want to renew with HGAC, yet we're renewing it. This is how you lose trust in the system, and it's so frustrating because that's what makes people leave and not vote and say, I'm done with it.
No, I think you're absolutely right. Politics is about power, and what we're learning is that a charter change like Prop B doesn't really have a lot of self-enforcing power, but the mayor does and city council does.
Oh, we heavy today, y'all.
We'll
I
get
don't
ready
know
for
how
this
this
next
gonna
one.
turn around. Ooh, child.
The Museum of Fine Arts Houston presents Living with the Gods, Arts, Beliefs, and Peoples. To celebrate its centennial, the museum has organized a once-in-a-lifetime exhibition that features extraordinary objects made by artists to communicate with their gods. Living with the Gods represents a vast array of religions and beliefs, with art created across cultures and across thousands of years. The 200 objects demonstrate the astonishing quality that artists have achieved when driven by passion and faith. Living with the Gods is on view from October 27th through January 20th, 2025. Visit mfah.org/livingwiththegods to learn more. That's mfah.org/livingwiththegods. Hey Houston, looking for some design inspiration? Check out the 2024 AIA Houston Home Tour. On November 2nd and 3rd, you'll get a rare chance to step inside some of the city's most stunning custom homes, all crafted by some of Houston's top architects. Whether you're dreaming up your own perfect space or just love exploring amazing designs like I do, this tour is a must. Each home is a masterpiece showcasing the collaboration between homeowners, architects, and builders. And the best part? You can chat with the architects right there on site, so you can get tips, ask questions, and soak up all the creative vibes. Don't miss out on this unique experience. To learn more or grab your tickets, just head over to architecturehouston.org. Again, that's architecturehouston.org. So mark your calendars November 2nd and 3rd and come join us for the AIA Houston Home Tour. You won't want to miss it. One thing I love about Houston is that it's full of amazing stories. Here's one that I just learned about. In 1940, a girl named Ruth Steinfeld and her family were deported from Germany to one of the first Nazi concentration camps in France. She and her sister managed to escape with the help of a rescue group, and Ruth ended up making a life here in Houston. Now her portrait is part of a new exhibit called Facing Survival by David Casson. The exhibit memorializes over 24 survivors at Holocaust Museum Houston, and they really make you think about the resiliency of the human spirit. Facing Survival is on view now through January 5th at Holocaust Museum Houston, and the museum is free on Thursdays from 2 to 5 p.m., and kids 18 and under and college students are always free at Holocaust Museum Houston. Learn more at hmh.org/Facing Survival. All right, yo, I'm going to get to my biggest story of the week. And lost in this election coverage is the unbelievable mismanagement and decision-making at the Houston Housing Authority. Now, if you don't know what happened, here is the rundown, okay? It all started when we learned about the Point on Bayou Bend, which is an affordable housing complex that was complete, but then sat idle because it was built near an old city trash incinerator that has left toxic ash. Well, that site is currently now under federal probe, with investigators collecting soil samples on property. Then ABC 13 investigated and found that the Houston Housing Authority, working through its private partner, the NRP Group, used TxDOT funds to purchase the property at approximately $44 per square foot in late 2020 and early 2021. But guess what? It was actually valued at like $11.30 per square foot. So they massively overpaid. So that then what happened at the Point at Bayou Bend has led to the president and chief executive, David Northern Sr., to be placed on administrative leave. And all eyes are now on the housing authority with what's happening. And again, losing trust with the public. Like, what are we doing here?
Oh my gosh. I'm going to move. I got to get out of here. I got to get out of here.
One of the weird things about this story that really stands out to me is this focus on environmental safety and pollution in the area, because there is a lot of private development and a lot of private housing right next to this property as well. But nobody raised any concerns about pollution until an affordable housing complex was being built. And whatever concerns there are about whether the property was purchased at the right price, and whether there's scandal around that, the whole question about pollution and lead remediation and heavy metals makes me think that it's really about something else. Because if we were concerned about pollution in the first place, that story would have come up and people would have been hammering that the moment the first townhouses went in. But The moment you get some affordable housing complex, suddenly this is a concern.
So you think there's something more sinister at play?
I think that people in the neighborhood, and they've made this clear, don't want an affordable housing complex. And you see this dynamic happening across the country where something goes in and people oppose it because they think it is bringing down the value of their property or bringing an element into the neighborhood they don't want. But the reality is that all of the research I've seen shows that affordable housing complexes don't do anything to neighborhoods that private property doesn't do in the first place either.
You said it best. When they find out, oh, regular people are coming, the poors are coming, then
Hmm.
that's when all of a sudden everything becomes a concern. And hence why
Hmm.
they jacked up the price on this property. This is ridiculous. This is sad, guys. What are we doing?
Hmm.
That's the theme of this show. What are we doing?
Yeah. And the reality is that Houston needs more affordable housing complexes. We tore down some as part of the I-45 expansion. We do a really good job of providing affordable housing for folks who are upper class, middle class, even lower middle class. But once you start to get to that really low section of income, we do a bad job. And it's because the market really struggles to provide at that price point, and the government or philanthropies have to step in.
All right, y'all, let's get to our most overlooked stories of the week. Antre'chelle, kick it off.
Like, this is crazy. Now, Texas prison in Huntsville is struggling with a large bat colony that has taken over an old unused warehouse. Now, the prison officials plan to demolish the building, but conservation concerns led them to reconsider. Bat Conservation International and Texas Wildlife Agencies are now collaborating to find a resolution that balances both the colony's protection and safety for the prison. Plans include potential relocation or renovating the warehouse to serve as a safe bat habitat. They are trying to ensure that those prisoners do not turn into Count Dracula.
Oh my gosh. I was not ready for that story at all, Antre'chelle. Now, the Texas Department of Criminal Justice said that they've spent more than a decade trying and failing to entice the colony to find other accommodations so the building can be torn down, as you mentioned. I didn't know this was happening for a decade.
Yes, it's been a long time and nobody knew about this situation. It ain't.
Man, at that point, you know what? The bats own that condemned warehouse. Just run. You know what? That's your new home. Just run it down. You're fine. It's a bat colony. You're gonna have to figure things out because that is absolutely wild. Evan, what's your most overlooked story?
My most overlooked story this week is that on Tuesday, Colin Allred had a huge rally at Texas Southern University with Senator Warnock, the senator from Georgia and senior pastor at Ebenezer Baptist Church, where Dr. Martin Luther King used to lead the congregation. But why is this overlooked? It wasn't covered in the Houston Chronicle. Our daily newspaper failed to cover this big political event that I think really deserves some major headlines. You can't complain that people aren't turning out to vote, that they're not being informed voters, if you aren't getting political news in the news section of the newspaper.
When Vice President Kamala Harris comes and brings Beyonce, if you're not bringing Beyonce, we're not covering it. It just sets the standards different now.
That's what I was about to say. I was like, now Colin Allred did show up and make an appearance at the Kamala Harris rally, but nobody said anything about him being at Texas Southern University. But I bet you if Megan Thee Stallion was there, that Houston Chronicle would have reported that. And
Maybe.
when Kamala Harris was running for her first term as president and she came to Texas Southern University, they did report it at that time. So what's the issue with them reporting about it here now? This is the problem that we've had as a Texas Southern University alum. We've always talked about why the news doesn't report the good things about our school, but they will report some of the shady things or not so great things about our university.
Now, I will say that the Texas Tribune covered the event, so credit to them for being on the beat.
Good.
And also one last note here, part of that stop here in Houston for Representative Colin Allred was to court more Black voters and really increase the turnout for our members in the Black community, and other appearances were made as well. But again, it goes back to why was this not covered? That is so frustrating. Okay, I'm going to get to my most overlooked story. And look, we are known as one of the most diverse cities in the nation, and Axios Houston crunched the numbers from the 2023 Census Bureau's American Community Survey to show just how diverse we truly are. Almost 30% of Houston's population is foreign born. And in Fort Bend, where I live, we had the highest percentage of foreign born residents in the greater Houston area at 31%. Now, I'm one of those foreign born residents, and I just wanted to highlight these numbers and celebrate how the greater Houston area has welcomed so many people and how we have helped our region as well. And, it just shows you that diversity is great and it is something to celebrate. But there's also a huge economic impact. There is a community impact from all of us being here as well, Evan.
Absolutely. Houston is a port city. When they shut down Ellis Island, immigrants started coming to Houston and they just never stopped. It has made us a city that is bigger, stronger, more economically dynamic. We have grown through tough times. It has made us a smarter city, more diverse and interesting and compelling, giving us a dynamic economic growth that other places don't have. You can look at cities that are past their peak, places like St. Louis or Cleveland or Buffalo, and they wish they had the immigration stats that we have.
All I have to say is, y'all, come on to Houston. Bring yourselves here, but learn how to drive when you get here. Learn how to
I don't
drive
know.
how we
Hey, I'm
drive,
going to push
okay?
back here.
Don't
We
be.
all suck at driving here. This is not a foreign born thing. This is not a homegrown thing. We all suck at driving here. So, hey, just please, everyone just pay attention, okay? This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. I want to say thank you to my wife and kids for being some amazing people, and I want to thank you, the listeners, for supporting us. This month is all about gratitude, and along with the people I just shouted out, there's another person we don't get to thank enough: ourselves. It's sometimes hard to remind ourselves that we are trying our best to make sense of everything, and in this crazy world, that isn't easy. Therapy empowered me to be the best version of myself. And if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Let the gratitude flow with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/citycast today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/citycast. Houston's original neighborhood, downtown is for everyone, and right now is the perfect time to start a new Saturday tradition with the Market Square Park Farmers Market. Every Saturday until November 16th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., you can enjoy this great weather that we're having and walk the farmers market like I do and check out all of the local growers and makers as they provide access to seasonally fresh and affordable fruit and vegetables, plus meat proteins and prepared foods, as well as other household goods. The best part? The Market Square Park Farmers Market is in collaboration with Central City Co-op, which is Houston's oldest organic, sustainable food co-op. There are several parking options, and it is accessible by the Metro Rail, so you can easily get to it. You can also enjoy live music performances by local artists and other entertainment so the entire family can have fun. Learn more at downtownhouston.org. Downtown Houston, get energized and revived. All right, let's get to y'all's moment of joy, Evan.
Well, my moment of joy was headlines in the Houston Chronicle about how Houston-based Occidental Petroleum is about to open up their carbon capture plant out in West Texas. It is going to suck carbon dioxide out of the air and store it underground. And they're going to make money off of this through a combination of tax credits and selling these credits to manufacturing companies, tech companies, to make sure that they can be zero emission. Now, this is incredible because so much of the renewable energy industry, so much of green energy is viewed as being in conflict with Houston's oil and gas industry. But the reality is that when it comes to carbon capture, carbon sequestration, or geothermal or hydrogen, we have the engineering knowledge and companies to do this kind of work. Our clean energy future isn't something that will leave Houston behind as long as we keep investing in these products. So I'm so happy that we're on top of it.
That is really, really cool. And I will be honest with you, Evan, I'm a little confused, okay? So definitely something to watch out for, but sounds like it is a gamble that hopefully does pay off, and it will for the city of Houston.
It's viewed as a high risk prospect, but sometimes you got to do high risk, high reward things.
Scared money don't make money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, this week I went and early voted with my wife and my 2 daughters. We took them inside so they can see the process. Now, my 9-year-old appreciated it way more, right? Because she absolutely understands what's happening. She, unfortunately, as we have talked about on this show, has seen too many political ads as we're watching football games and just TV. Now, my 2-year-old, she was like, hey, are we going on a boat? Because that's what she kept saying. She's like, we're going to go on a boat. We're not going on a boat. We're doing something more important. So we went and early voted, and I have taken my oldest daughter before, but now that she really understands, it was so much fun telling her why this is so important to me. So I didn't become a citizen until I was 22 years old. So that means I could never vote while I was in college. And in fact, when I was at the University of Texas, I would always go by the PCL, which is our big main library that would be a polling station. And I would steal one of the I voted stickers so I could fit in, right? Like I'm walking around feeling like I just voted because I didn't want people to know that I was not a citizen. And now, like when I go vote, it is such a pride moment for me. It is such an important moment because I get to exercise my right to have a voice in this democracy and to tell that to my oldest daughter, to explain it to her as I'm voting, why it's important is a moment that I will cherish forever. And I hope it impacts her. And she is active and voting throughout her life when she is eligible to vote. So that is my moment of joy as a foreign-born citizen. I vote in every single election, no matter how big or how small, because I know what it feels like when I don't have a voice.
Very good. That's nice.
So inspirational. It's so wonderful.
Very much.
Thank you. All right, Antre'chelle, speaking of voting, I know you've got some freebies for me. What do you got?
Houston, Texas, please do not tarry. Today is the last day for early voting. Get it in, okay? But if you wear your I voted sticker around the city of Houston, you can get some freebies. Now, if you go to Beetlejuice off of 4500 Montrose, you can get an $8 cocktail with a $7 32-ounce beer jug and $6 wine because they're having happy hour all day. If you ride the Metro is offering free round-trip rides to voting locations during early voting and also on election day, but we want you to vote today, okay? But keep that in mind. If you cannot make it today, on November 5th, they can give you a free round-trip free round-trip ride for registered voters. And if you show your I voted sticker, they got you on the ride. There are plenty more places and spaces around Houston that are feeding you and taking care of you and celebrating the fact that you voted. Wear your sticker and enjoy the perks of voting early.
A lot of freebies. And if your birthday's on November 5th, guess what? You get the birthday freebie and the I voted freebie. So, hey, take full advantage of that. I love it. Antre'chelle, Evan, thank y'all so much. It was a packed week, and I'm glad we had a chance to break it all down. Have a great weekend. And again, don't forget, Election Day is Tuesday. You can still early vote if you're listening to this on Friday, November 1st. Please go out there. Thank y'all so much.
All right, see ya.
Chat with y'all next time.
Go vote.
That was Antre'chelle Nova and Evan Mintz. Dig deeper into all of the stories we discussed with the links in our show notes. Hey, a big thank you to everyone who shared an episode of CityCast Houston with a friend. And if you haven't yet, then end the week on a high note by sharing this episode with 3 friends. You can also leave us a rating and review wherever you're listening. Want even more H-Town news? Subscribe to our daily newsletter, Hey Houston, with the info in our show notes. That will do it for this week here on CityCast Houston. Our producers this week were Grant Irving, Elizabeth Kama, and of course, Carleon Jones. Our newsletter editors were Natalia Aldana and Brooke Lewis. Our executive producer is Laura Isensee, and I'm your host, Raheel Ramzanali. Our music is by the band All the Kimonos. We'll be back on Monday when we talk with a former NASA engineer who now makes sure that Houston's busiest polling location runs smoothly and safely on Election Day.